So for today's video, we're looking at Gordo piloting Lillith versus Security Control being piloted by Tom. Interesting take. Tom is using a red base here for his eggs, and he starts off passing over 4 with a Kari. When you're dropping those initial memory tamers, it can be kind of a tricky decision because you're potentially gaining back memory retained and the effects can be powerful, but then you're also running the risk of the amount of memory you're giving your opponent. So right there, Gordo does pass over a bonus memory to Tom, but is able to secure himself a purple mem boost. Ooh, it's a shame to lose those options, but getting Lucamon in the graveyard is good. And he's pawing through, and he takes that Lucamon instead of the Cerberusmon. Looks like he's trying to save for a cast instead of trying to revive it. Tom is going to keep it simple, drop a Holy Wave, suspending the Kari, and this is where, even with Lillithloop, you can take those setbacks. Gordo's going to run his scatter mode in, and it lives! He hits the promo Gilmon. That is a shame. That is an actual shame. And Tom's only going to get back advantage with another Gilmon in the raising. And TK and Kari. This card was a menace during like all of BT7. Just when your opponent drops it, it was a period where Insor and Joe represented that you would never get ahead of your opponent's obscene memory gains. Gordo's got the tools to deal with it, but he's going to go for the value of the scatter mode, and he just gives him another tamer. Ty and Matt serving as a nice little bonus. Level 6s can be prevalent in this format, but I think he's just doing it for the Zwart defeat security +1. Okay. Cerberusmon, strong play. Going in for another swing. And he has the werewolf mode. Good, good, good. But it's so hard to put a dent in security control. Unless he actually pulls off the loop, which is harder now. There's his one Eismon. I feel with the prevalence of Lillithloop still being a potential deck, this is why memory blockers retain their value. I think it's still good to have a Madoki Betamon or any other similar card, Gazimon, Chumon. Hits the Geo Gray, no target, but that's another body on board for Tom. He's seeing a bit of a dent now, which is unfortunate. And another scatter mode on backup. It's just an interesting match because Lillith doesn't have the aggro to burst it down. It's just trying to generate advantage. But once it pops off, it's pretty much a guaranteed win no matter what Tom hits. But Tom has picked up 3 tamers. Obviously, once Gordo sticks his Mega, he's not really going to give that advantage of the Ty and Matt over to Tom. But still, it's that deceptiveness when you're playing in security control where you can feel like you've won. You can feel like everything's going in your favor. And they can just bounce back. Oh, and an Analog Youth. Really good hit, really good hit. He gets to take that promote. That's going to be so good for him later. If I'm correct, he's only playing the one of promote in the deck anyway. Oh, no, promote to the trash. Interesting choice. That Analog Youth is good. It's a shame he's playing the Cerberus mode, and obviously it's not going to have sources to take advantage of that additional memory. Oh, and a Gaia Force. Yeah. Just going right for it. Gaia Force, it's a bit of a meme card for me because I used to always defend the idea of running 4 early on in the game. But right now, especially with all the megas that can't necessarily be answered by these value spells like Atomic Blaster or Crimson Blaze, just having the Gaia Force is good sometimes. Obviously, in a situation like this, you'd want a more traditional board wipe or a different way to control, but... And that is the Dead or Alive. And It seems like my comments about aggro might have been wrong, the Avenged Kid Montech. He's really just pushing through and getting all the punishes he needs. I guess I did underestimate how scatter mode can function to add an aggro element to the deck. He's thinking, though. And that's the thing with this list, is you have to make decisions. A single miscalculation or misplay can cost you. You don't have that bounce back. It's a lot of reactive and specialized tools, and you're aiming for that single line of play that's going to win you the game. It reminds me of the Richard Garfield player identity. This is very much a Johnny deck. You are looking for the lines to win, and it's the big combo-oriented deck for Digimon. Is that a creep? That's a Creepymon. Interesting. And then security control falls much more into the spike aspect. It is just there to win. There is no fluff. It is just good cards that do good things. So, really, I don't think you could find two more ideologically opposed decks here. He is just shuffling through that hand. There we go. Getting a little bit back, getting a little bit back. Can he pop off? He has level 5 on board. And what's in his hand? That's the big question. He's going for the swing. Oh, the reinforcing. The one-off reinforcing. What a problematic card. But he's got the Lillith. This should be it. I can't think of what he could hit in security to where he can't just pull a win here. Obviously, there's no Mega Digimon Fusion loop. But there's still power. Yeah. Gaining back obscene amounts of memory. Scatter mode. But obviously, he doesn't have the board to clutch it. Without those revives off of the Zwart, there's not a lot he can do other than just build a board state. He's got the Darkness Revival. Fetching back the Cerberus. Okay. Getting back the Cerberus. Is he setting himself up for another loop next turn? I don't think Tom can win this in a single turn cycle. He can definitely stack up his board. He's going to be gaining a lot of memory here. Going up to 5 with the potential to go all the way up to 8. Yeah. And that's second analog youth. Digging for those answers. Okay, Tom, you got 8 memory. What are you going to do to take the advantage back? Cracking that. Okay. You can do anything you want. You can heal. But you know he's got the Lilith in hand. You have to come up with something. It's not like the older days where you could just do a small play in raising and slam down a blocker or something. With this version of security control, if you're not winning through that advantage, you really don't have a stabilizing play. He can't touch the Cerberus, it's in raising. The Avenge Kid. That's an answer. Gives Gordo less tools to work with. He just has to clinch out 2 swings here. This does make me remember the BT6. Yes. Gabubon versus security control matchup. That was painful. I was duped into playing Gabubon most of that format, and it hurt so badly because all it was stacking tamers and praying you got 5, 6, however many hybrids you needed to close out a win. Okay, you've got the Cerberus. You've got your 2 analog youths. You've got everything you need. There we go. Gaining back the memory. and ending up ahead with a Rush Digimon. That's the power of cards like Analog Youth. They just don't get bad. People tend to forget about these cards. They get hyped up during the pre-release cycle, or when we see them spoiled in Japan, and then people just throw them away and forget about them. But cards are always going to potentially have value. Big example right now is like the 1.5 Secret Blackwork Greymon. That card was a bulk filler, and it blew up because of that combo with the current Metal Greymon. Holding onto a playset of Analog Youths or even having your alt ones is a good idea right now. All it is who can close it out and how can they close it out. Who has the ability? He's digging, he's thinking. He's trying to establish that lineup play. Two very diametrically opposed players here. Gordo is methodical to a T. He's going to go through every potential line of play. And that can be good, but sometimes it can be a fault. Tom, smart guy, but sometimes just goes for what's in the moment. Sometimes your gut's the right choice, but in a situation like this, he couldn't close it out. He could stabilize, and Lillith is going to do little things. This should be the end of the match right here. If he can just get a Rush Digimon on board, Tom can't establish enough attacks. And short of another Holy Rave in his security, yeah. I don't think they could have seen this type of deck coming when they established the game. You're talking about very early cards like Lillithmon and Jack Raid, and just their interaction is so potent. It's wild going back to it because 1.0 is filled with cards like the Machine Dramon that just Digivolves on play. Silly cards like that do simple things. And then you just have a very innocuous card in Lillithmon, which is just blown up. That card's going to stay relevant. That 7 Great Demon Lords subtype, we know they're going to make a move on that. That's just money for them. They wouldn't ignore printing something like that. And he's picked up the Rush Digimon. He's picked up the Cerberus. He can do everything he wants to right now. This is the sad thing when you're just sitting at the other end of the table. Lillithmon's doing Lillithmon things. And your gameplay is just broken down to moving a memory marker up and down your board. That's fine. Both good sports. And he's just cycling through, taking advantage of all these different tools. You've got such a mix of cards here. It's very interesting to see. This is really a deck that's being cobbled together over the course of the entire game. That just comes back to the point of not denying power of certain cards. Always keep your playsets. And he got the recover. He got what he needed. He's bought himself a little bit more time. That's a shame. That is not what Gordo wanted to see. That was supposed to be his close out there. And what could this be? He's open. He just needs to establish one more attacker. 6 memory. 1 hit kills Tom. He's got the Digimon raising, and there we go. That's the Lillithmon again. And he's got those Jack Raids. Just bordering infinite memory. As much as he wants, he could play out his whole deck. This is why Rush is a dangerous keyword. Every time they print a purple Rush Digimon, it gives potential to this strategy. Almost full memory. he can just hard cast anything he wants. And there we go. Good match. Very interesting.